Welcome, friends, and thank you for tuning into the Optimal Health Program today. Hope you're all doing well. As we are rushing to get this show together because some patients in the office decided to come in late, which I have a little pet peeve of that, because on Saturday I'm trying to racing to make sure I cover everything and write all the prescriptions we need, renew the things, blah, 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 take the calls, do the telehealth calls, and then everybody knows after race over here, it takes me about a half hour, 40 minutes to get here to the studio and, get ready. And, of course, at the last minute, I have to say, hey, Frankie, can I send this to you and you could print this up? It's like
I got you.
a minute and a half before the show starts, and he's just ready. He just does it. Frankie's always ready. You can't throw a curve at him.
That's what I'm here for.
That's right. He's the man. So we have some good stuff to talk about today. Well, diabetes is one of them, and we'll talk about some statistics and what we like to do, and we got some good video clips. We'll also talk about statistics for some of the cancers where people should be really doing some preventive screening, as they should be for all cancers, but we'll talk about that. We'll be taking your calls in case people still have phones in this new generation, 888-420-9272. It's nice to hear a voice now and then to connect with.
It's been a while, guys.
It's old school, though. I'm old school. I'm an old school guy for 35 years on the radio, listening to people talk and ask questions. It's fun. I like that. And then, of course, you could always email us. Thank you in advance for everybody looking at the show, watching our wonderful group at Rumble, LFA. Crazy response, LFA. Thank you so much. Lots of calls to the office, lots of emails to the office. Of course, YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and Spotify and everybody else in this wonderful new universe. Let's start, and we'll talk about diabetes. So statistics for diabetes go up every year by about 1.5 million individuals, which is horrible. And granted, people in the U.S. and worldwide just don't understand that they're doing things that are wrong that are putting them in jeopardy. And that's why we repeatedly talk about this and how to do good lifestyle change to be able to make a big difference. So in 2021, there were 38.4 million Americans, or 11.6% of the population, that had diabetes. Now, that's 4 years ago. So add 60 million on top of that, or however many million, 1.5 million a year, 1.5 million a year times 4 years. So that's another 6 million not 60. So it just keeps increasing. On one hand, people don't understand that eating too much carbohydrate, bread, pasta, potatoes, rice, oatmeal, grains, fruits, I'm not even going to talk about candy bars, junk food. It's just going to damage you sooner or later. And for some people, it's happening sooner than ever before. Diabetes occurs in the population in an earlier age now than ever before. And of those that were undiagnosed, many millions of people are undiagnosed. Prediabetes now is soaring. 97.6 million Americans aged 18 and older had prediabetes, which means their blood sugar is so close to be called diabetic, they're probably diabetic part of the time and a little bit better the other part of the time. That means that if you look at the A1C number, which is a 3-month average of your blood sugar, and you're at 6.5, that's diabetic. If you're at 6.2 and you're pre-diabetic, but that's the average, there are times you're at the 6.5 or above, and there may be times that you're under the 6.2 or maybe 6 or 5.9. So we have to take this into consideration. These people are not just going to automatically turn around and be fine. We've got to do the same discussion, have the same conversation. If your fasting blood sugar is 126 or higher, you're diabetic. That's been talked about for years. If you're 125, 124, you're almost there. I consider that being the same thing. Why does it have to be that there's, 1 point cutoff? So we talk about this to patients all the time. So we talk about low-carb diet, decrease the amount of sugars coming in. that can decrease your fasting sugar, your need for insulin and medications. Walk every day, a half hour to 45 minutes. If you can't do a half hour, do 20 minutes. And do it in the morning, do it in the afternoon. If you can do a half hour, great. Then 35 minutes every day next week. Then 40 minutes every day the week after. Then 45. Just keep working yourself up to getting your body to burning the sugar and fat with your muscles and your activity. If your hormones have declined, which we test for all of them, really thorough hormone tests, not just one or two components, but looking at all of them, we want to fix that and walk you back to where you were 10 or 15 years ago. If your vitamins are low, you need vitamins. They're food for your cells. We'll put that together for you in a very simple, easy way. From the blood test, from your activity, I will put together the recommendation for the vitamin packs for you. So you have a morning pack and an evening pack. You'll be covered beautifully. We'll recheck your blood down the road to make sure that those recommendations are perfect, just as we would recheck down the road to make sure your sugar's coming down, your weight's coming down, you're losing inches, all of that. There are some people that opt to do the weekly injectables, and yet others where all of this is working a little bit but not significantly enough, we do stem cells for. And stem cells, as we extract, spin, and put them back into your vein, will go to your pancreas, set up new cells, become new pancreatic cells. That's what stem cells do. They become other cells that make insulin, and now you're really changing the diabetic picture. So all of these things comprehensively are what will give you the greatest outcome. We have any videotape on that?
Yeah, we have a couple patients.
Let's go to the videotape.
All right, we want to real quick go into a couple questions.
Yes, questions first.
Got some lingering ones. Just asking, I was told I have pre-diabetes, but I don't even eat sweets. How is that possible?
Well, it's not just about sweets. It's anything that breaks down to sugar: bread, pasta, rice, oatmeal, grains, fruits, so unfortunately, the Western diet, is filled with a lot of sugar and carbohydrate. I'm not even going to talk about, soda that's got sugar in it and a lot of the other big sugar exposures. But yeah, it's not just sweets.
And then the other question is just, what is the biggest difference between type 1 and type 2? I always get them confused.
Well, type 2 is where your body's making some insulin. It's just not enough to be able to control your sugar. Type 1 typically is that you can't make the insulin to bring your sugar down, and that's why they either give you insulin or give you a pump, and they do a variety of things. Type 1 typically earlier onset. Type 2, it used to be later onset. Years ago, you'd see this more in people that were 60s and 70s years of age, but now you're seeing type 2 at earlier years because people are just eating way too much carbohydrate as young individuals and then just dumping, insulin because they're just taking sugar, huge amounts of sugar in with every meal. And after a while, your pancreas gets tired. You become a diabetic at a younger age. So.
And then we just have someone saying that they were just recently, they're on statins and they were told that it could increase diabetes risk. Any thoughts on that?
So they're making an interesting comment. I can tell you where the correlation is, but just having elevated cholesterol is not necessarily a direct correlation with diabetes, or taking a statin may damage your body. There are lots of side effects, and they wipe out CoQ10, so they can decrease your heart contraction, affect your muscles all over your body. But typically the people who have high cholesterol have had too much sugar or carbohydrate in their diet. If their body can't metabolize it, if they're not doing the exercise, the same person, as the cholesterol climbs up, triglycerides climb up, blood sugar climbs up, weight goes up. So it's all part of this mechanism. So if you look at those individuals who are eating lots of carbs, not doing exercise, as they're getting a little bit older and their hormones drop and their vitamin levels drop, you start to see the cholesterol come up, the weight come on, triglycerides come up, blood sugar starts to go too high. Maybe they're overpowering the ability of their pancreas to make insulin to keep the sugar down. Or maybe they've been telling their pancreas for years, here's tons of carb, keep making extra insulin, you become insulin resistant, and then after a while you're just not making the insulin. So this is what we see very frequently, but it is reversible. We do it all the time. Low carb diet, exercise, correct vitamins, minerals, hormones, and stem cell. And there are great videos on the website that you could see and hear the individuals, talk about their benefits.
And we have Macros 2012 in the chat saying, and I can testify to what you're saying. Is
Cool.
do we have a Dr. Chris patient in the chat, or you just happen to said, but my BP went out of control?
Yeah, so the other thing that goes up when you gain the weight, because there are people that are diabetic that don't gain necessarily a lot of weight, but when you gain the weight, your blood pressure goes up. So all of these things are horrible for your heart and your organs. That's why, to throw a little bit of an add-on in here, for those individuals that are Medicare, we want to do the mechanism of RPM to track their blood pressure, their weight, their blood sugar, give them a watch so we can check to see their oxygen, their rate and rhythm of their heart, how well they're sleeping, how much walking they're doing. So when we talk about a comprehensive approach, there's nothing more comprehensive than this. We're fine-tuning the diet, fine-tuning the exercise, the same with correcting hormones, vitamins, tracking them with the RPM mechanism. So we're getting all of this data every day and watching to see their body change. If they do the stem, then within 3 weeks, we start rechecking to see, is the sugar dropping? Is the C-peptide level coming up? That means your body's making more insulin. We look at the insulin levels. We look at fructosamine. So every part of the picture is what we do when we fine-tune this.
All right, we can go to the tape, Doc.
All righty, let's see.
Well, it all began for
one of my
me a
favorite
couple of
patients.
years ago, and my health really had been deteriorating. I went for a couple of operations. I had some problems. I'm 74 years old. Over the past 6 months, it really got worse. Friends of mine, people that I know, saw what I looked like. I had major problems with tearing from the eyes, constantly dripping. I had problems with high blood pressure, with cholesterol, triglycerides, and diabetes. And I really felt terrible. Not only did I feel terrible, I looked terrible. People saw that in me, and I saw it in myself because I have a mirror and I saw what I look like. And quite honestly, I was really almost giving up hope. At 74 years old, I figured my body's just deteriorating, my organs are deteriorating, and that's part of the life cycle. But I didn't want to give up, and I contacted Dr. Calapai because I know he does a lot of unusual things, and really, when you need to go beyond, he's the person to go to. And so I called Dr. Calapai. We made an appointment. He took the blood tests, found out what I was lacking, what needed to be done. But really, in looking at my overall health, felt that a stem cell infusion would probably benefit me tremendously. So I agreed to do it that day, and it was probably the best decision I ever made in my life because 3 months later, as I went back and got retested, my triglycerides were 540, they went down to 140. My cholesterol was 240, it went down to 120. I am no longer a diabetic where my A1C was 7.3, it's now 5.7. I don't have the pains. I have so much more energy. I get up and I've done things around the house that I haven't done in 10 years. When I first had this conversation with Dr. Calapai, he said, you're going to look and you're going to feel like you did 10, 15 years ago. And he was absolutely right. This was absolutely the best decision I made. And it's not something that I heard third hand or second hand. This is something that I'm living. I lived through it. I've seen it. I feel it. I couldn't go up a flight of stairs without holding onto the banister and trying to gasp for breath. Now I run up the stairs. It's absolutely amazing. I feel like I got a new lease on life. I feel like I'm not 74 anymore. I'm 64 or 60. And everybody around me sees that, including my wife. In fact, one of the benefits is that when I chase my wife, I can catch her now. So it's a positive for me. She may not be too happy about it, but it's a positive for me.
That's great. He's a terrific guy, terrific patient. And you can see, wonderfully well-spoken. A lot of people from the area know him. He's a wonderful gentleman, a politician. And I would go to see him and lots of different people when we would have these gatherings. But he's a real sweetheart, just changed his life, lost 50 pounds. I mean, it worked so well and so quickly for him. He was looking for something to create that change, and that's what we did between diet, exercise, vitamins, minerals, hormones, and STEM, became a completely different presentation. Nothing's more exciting than that. And I mean, an interesting comment, how many doctors get to see that? None. Because meds, would really be the only recommendation. I see that because we did everything we could to change the picture, and it worked. I mean, it does. It's your body fixing itself. So, patient I saw today, lovely patient, and is diabetic, and the A1C, I think, was 9.5, but the doctors never told her to change her diet. You know, cereal or pancakes for breakfast, or a bagel, and sandwich or pizza for lunch, pasta. I mean, it's just a high-carb diet. So, and they keep putting people on more and more meds. That doesn't make any sense to me.
We got in the chat, someone that the person said, I'm living it, said corned beef, salami, processed food, soda, then correcting your behavior becomes near impossible. Pastrami, chocolate bars, potato chips. People don't realize how much crap they are putting in their bodies now with these energy drinks that have near 4 times the caffeine.
Yeah,
even a Mountain Dew.
Dangerous for your heart, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, like anything else, in talking to people, some people take a little bit of time to start the change in their diet or start the exercise. Some people have never done any exercise, and it takes a little bit more coaching to get them to do it. But even the basics, walk around the block, walk around the perimeter of your house. Get a little exercise bike in the house. You know, start with something, and once they start to feel better, then they follow through. Same thing with the diet. We've got a great handout. It's a green sheet, and it talks about all the different things at Whole Foods that you could get that are grain-free. Grain-free chips, grain-free wraps. If you like to have chips and salsa, you're really keeping the sugars down with that. Forager Project makes cashew milk yogurt, which is great to drink, and you can put some berries in it, even Orgain, the protein powder, and make a nice smoothie. It's a meal, but you're getting protein, vitamins. You know, it's a great way to put good things into your body, and people start to like that. They just don't think that there are other options to that super big fruit smoothie thing they're having with 150 grams of carb. And instead of doing that, we get them over to do this, and you're getting protein and nutrients and low carb and the cashew milk. You know, it just becomes wonderful. Cauliflower rice, you can put that in a pan with garlic, olive oil, tomatoes, peppers, pinoli nuts, whatever seasoning you like. It's a great way to have no sugar and no carb, but to fill up on good food. So there are different ways to do that, and that's what we try to recommend. And some people will do it right off the bat. Other people take a little bit of time. You know, everybody has their own way of adjusting to something. So as long as they're willing to adjust, then, you know, we'll help them do it.
Someone just asking, is it true that stem cells can reboot the pancreas and create new insulin-producing cells?
Absolutely. That's the entire mechanism. Stem cells, when they go to areas of damage degeneration, become, or the word in medicine is differentiate into pancreatic cells, heart, liver, kidney, etc., gut, and they become new pancreas cells that can make insulin. So that's the mechanism of how that works. Absolutely.
And someone's asking, I've seen documentary where people reverse diabetes with plant-based diets. Would stem cell therapy still help if someone's already doing that?
It would help it in a better way because you're making your pancreas younger and your other organs connected to your blood flow, heart, lungs, liver, kidney, gut, etc., younger. So you're getting repair that you wouldn't get necessarily just by changing the diet. Now, plant-based diet may be good, but for people that are diabetic, you can't have any of the sugar things from plant, you know? So you can't have rice and, you know, potatoes are high in sugar, you know, white potatoes being the highest. All the high starch foods you can't have because that's got a lot of sugar in it. So I think you want to change each of those parameters, low carbs, exercise, correct hormones, vitamins, etc., and then do the stem because you're creating a much stronger body by doing that because you're making your organs function in a far greater way.
And someone's just said, I've gone low carb, I ditched the sugar and lost weight, but I still need meds. Would stem cells be the missing piece?
For diabetes, yeah, absolutely. But again, without knowing what your thyroid hormone is by looking at a 12-part thyroid panel, without looking at testosterone, DHEA, IGF-1, the active component of growth hormone, without looking at, you know, the specifics of what you're eating, you know, we would go over all of that. But yeah, the stem is the way to get your pancreas to function like it did at a much younger, earlier age. Absolutely.
And someone's just asking for clarification. You're saying that your patients get off insulin completely? Question mark.
We have patients that are on orals and then insulin for type 2, yes. And some that have become non-diabetic and are on no meds for diabetes. We have type 1s that we've treated that have had their requirement for medications drop very, very low because your pancreas is still there. It's open to your blood flow. As the stem go there, they're creating new cells that make insulin. Whatever you can do to minimize the use of the drug would be a good thing.
Sweet potatoes and yams are good.
They're good for you. It's just that if you can't handle the sugar and you're taking in 300 grams of carb a day, if you drop it down to 30 grams and your body starts to do better and you want to have a sweet potato or yam, yeah, you can have that. I'm not saying you could never have anything that's got any carb in it. It's just that I would rather get all those carbs out off the bat to see how much improvement we get. And then you can bring them back in here and there as long as you're doing a good amount of exercise. And there's some people who are dying to have, fruit or a banana or oranges. I tell them have it right before you go for a long run or your exercise. Because if you have those things before you do the exercise, your exercise activity is going to burn through the sugar. It's not going to affect you.
And we got this one. For someone who's eaten badly for years, can stem cells undo the long-term damage, or is it too late?
No, it's stem cells can create that repair. The gentleman on the video was 74 and reversed his stem. He wasn't in wonderful shape. He wasn't in the most horrible shape. But at 74, his own cells did a wonderful job. And in 2.5 months, he was non-diabetic and lost a great deal of weight. We've done stem on 90-year-old patients. I think we had one woman who was 100 years old. We did stem to try to improve her vision, and it helped. So your body has a wonderful capacity to repair itself. We just got to give it that chance.
Is our food system part of the reason so many people are ending up in these situations?
Yes. So I'm sure that you're aware of what RFK Jr. is doing now, which I think is a godsend. But yeah, look at every other country in the world. They don't have junk food. And a lot of countries will eat good food from a local farm or a local store, and a lot of people grow their own food, so they're having lots of good vegetables. They're having good protein sources. They don't have the GMO. They don't have the chemicals. They don't have the pesticides. They don't have all the stuff that it seems to be okay to have in food here. So now we're getting rid of the chemicals and the dyes. People will be healthier. It'll take a while, but people will be healthier without all of this. What other country has ads on TV every morning for cereal and, high carb stuff? Things with a lot of food colorings and dyes in it. Nobody else does.
Yeah. And
you could travel all over the world and look at people all over the world. They're healthier than us. You see people in the, areas of, Missouri and some of these states where the obesity rates are staggering. It's just because they've been given the wrong idea as to what to do and what to eat.
And not to mention all the advertisements of the medication you should take to fix the diabetes, with half of the commercial being all of the possible side effects that will lead to death.
Right. So some commercials make you want to eat the junk food, and then the other commercials, once you eat the junk food and you have your problems, are for the medications to take for that. So you can't think that when people in certain positions are thinking, what's the new drug we've got to come up with? What's the new drug to make? How many of these pills or things can we sell? They're looking to see at the tidal wave of illness and trying to capitalize on that. You may not like the idea. You may not like the fact that I said it, but it's true. Do they make lots of meds for a disease that's 1 in a billion? No. They make meds over and over and over again for diseases that they know will where it'll sell. Problem is, and there are people who need medication all the time for various, significant serious conditions. But medications are not changing the cause of the problem. So you could have a diabetic on 10 pills and they're still getting worse. Then they're going to live a shorter life because the diabetes is still there. I'd rather change the entire mechanism, as we say, and if we can, make the person non-diabetic. This makes more sense. Get the weight down, bring the pressure down, get the cholesterol down, all in the same, breath, in the same mechanism. The person that's overweight, hypertensive, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, diabetic, etc., change that whole mechanism so those things don't exist anymore. And, Angelo was a perfect explanation of that.
We got another patient in the wings we'll be playing, but a couple questions. So someone said, I'm sure you answered this, but what food group do I replace these carbs with? Knowing that I could eat vegetables all day and still feel hungry, not to say the gas that vegetables induce, in me at least, my issue is feeling full.
Well, it's combinations of different foods that would give you great nutritive value. So it would be hard for me to say what you should or shouldn't eat, and I can rattle off a list of good things or recipes, and I will. But it would be important to see what your vitamin, mineral, hormone levels are, because you want to eat the best food to get the best vitamin levels in your body. So you could have very good protein sources, and proteins will make you full. Some people will have extra protein, whether they have a protein powder that they mix in with the cashew milk yogurt, as I mentioned, or some people put the protein powder in their coffee in the morning, and that could make you feel full because you're getting great calories. If you want to make a smoothie with, as I mentioned, and you could have cottage cheese, and you could have different yogurts, and you could have nuts and seeds. I'm not saying all you should have is broccoli and lettuce and salad. If you're going to have cauliflower rice, put that in a pan with garlic and olive oil. That I say this all the time. It's easy to make, and I do it. Put some nuts, some seeds in it. Put some seasoning. You can put tomatoes, peppers, a wide range of things in there that'll give you some bulk, and you'll feel full as you eat that. Some people need to have high sugar to make their body feel full because they've trained their body to do that, but it takes a little bit of time for that to kind of reverse. But there's a ton of good stuff to eat that would make your body feel full and give you better nutrient value. And then correcting your nutrients. If your hormones have declined or changed, you want to correct that because that'll make a big difference. So it depends upon your whole picture, not just, what foods do I substitute.
Someone's asking, is using a yeast pill something to entertain?
A yeast pill, it's not really going to change your body much. I know some of those things were used in the past, but it doesn't not really going to affect you or make any difference. In a perfect world, I'd love people to have, grow their own vegetables. So you've got some great, perfect vegetables that you can grow. Get the garden device, GARDYN. So inside your kitchen or your dining room, wherever you want to put it, you have your own vegetables. You're growing them. They're perfectly clean and healthy. Get your good protein sources, organic chicken, turkey, eggs. You could have fish. You could have beef or pork, lamb, a lot of great things to have. And throughout the day, get good protein sources and some good vegetables around that, and your body will do very well. I've, recommended these same things for 39 years. So this is a great way to create a better diet. And once we correct your vitamins or correct your hormones and add the exercise, you feel like $1 million.
I told my friend stem cells and diet might reverse diabetes, and he laughed. What would you say to a skeptic like that?
So tell him he just has to go online and read. Or first of all, you could pull up my website and you could see a couple of videos that show diabetes reversal in a 74-year-old. And the other gentleman, I think, was 69 or 70. And you could have him watch the video. Then you can go on Google Scholar and look at diabetes and stem cell therapy. Some people don't want to hear that there are things that work. Some people like the status quo. Some people only listen to the doctor that's pushing as many medications as they can, or some specialists that work in a hospital here or there, or he's the chief of this or that. But yeah, how many people have become non-diabetic with that approach? None. So there are a lot of people who just don't want to change and they're afraid to hear something, but this is not new. And if you want to look at 4 million studies on stem cell therapy, on search engines, you can.
Should we start that other video? We have one in the wings.
Yes, we can.
All right. Coming up.
Hi, my name is Andy. I am a patient of
Another
Dr.
great guy.
Calapai. And when I had come to Dr. Calapai in June of 2016, my weight was 277 pounds, my blood sugar reading was 167, and my A1C was 7.2. I had heard of Dr. Calapai on his radio show, his whole nutritional approach and his stem cell therapy, which he's conducting clinical trials for. But what really interested me was the whole approach. I didn't know that I was diabetic at the time. But when presented with these facts, Dr. Calapai offered me the option of doing stem cell therapy in addition to doing the eliminating carbs, lowering the weight, walking 30 minutes a day, building up lean muscle tissue, raising your vitamin and hormone levels. And now, thanks to the stem cell therapy and Dr. Calapai's whole approach, I am non-diabetic and on the road to recovery. I've lost 52 pounds. My A1C is now reading about 5.9, and my blood sugar is averaging between 80 and 90. I'm feeling much better. I'm feeling more energetic. I don't feel literally like a weight is on my shoulders. After taking off 52 pounds, it's you can move around better. Now, I had been doing something prior to this on my own, but it's hard to sort of judge yourself and look at yourself. So I needed that third eye. And like I said, I had heard Dr. Calapai on his radio show, and I thought that would be that's kind of in line with my thinking. And he doesn't use any medications. He tries to bring your body mechanisms up to optimal levels, and so that your body, using your own body functions, you can pretty much operate optimally. I would just recommend Dr. Calapai's approach to anybody who'd be interested. At least come in and take the comprehensive blood test.
Yeah, another terrific result. I mean, so people who have problems like this, chronic illness, are looking for something to create a change or create a result, and sometimes can't find that in the traditional realm. So he was ready to go. The exercise right off the bat, low carb right off the bat. We did the procedure, and as you can see and hear from his story, didn't take long. I think it was 2 months, and he became non-diabetic. No meds. So also realize that if you're diabetic, you're damaging your blood vessels and your nerves and your organs. You may not see that you're developing a lot of plaque in your blood vessels until you feel that chest pain or have that heart attack. But, diabetes is a major cause of plaque in the blood vessels, neuropathy as well. So there are a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that are hidden that you wouldn't necessarily notice unless someone discussed them with you. When people have changes in vision, you may not see it unless it's really severe and really quick and happens right away. In some cases, things happen over a very gradual period of time, and people just can't compare from 6 months or a year ago to now. So that's why it's good to have a checklist of all the things that people can show with diabetes and go over with them. How's this? How's that? Do you feel numbness and tingling in your extremity? We go through a whole checklist. So that's, of course, important to do.
Yeah, we got a question here. Can stem cell repair damaged blood vessels or nerves caused by diabetes, like in diabetic neuropathy?
We've seen that. So we've had patients with neuropathy where we do the IV to get the stem cells circulating within your blood, which goes to all of your cells. And for some of them, if they have the neuropathy down their leg, we'll just inject down their leg so that the stem cells can get to those nerves and help to create repair. Just like with diabetic ulcers, some people know what that looks like. They're horrible, crater-like ulcers on your leg because the circulation is not bringing the oxygen, vitamins, minerals, and hormones and all the good cells to that area, so the cells break down. And we take the stem cells, inject it right around that crater of ulceration of the skin, and that creates pretty rapid healing because you're putting new cells in, you'll get new blood flow there. Everything will start to come back and create repair.
Question on pistachios, health-wise, even though they are expensive, as you know.
I think they're very good. Now, I guess a week or so ago, we were talking about pistachios and nuts having a variety of good components in them. And I'm not going to be able to find my sheet here, but yeah, I think they're good. I love pistachios. Some people like them already out of the shell. I like them in the shell because I like to play with the shell and,
Me too.
crank it open, and there's that little piece of crusty whatever that is that comes along inside.
Got
the
to work
pistachio.
for it.
Yeah. I like that. I don't get them salted. I just get the plain, organic pistachios. I like them. And if you're watching a movie, all of a sudden you've got a pile of pistachio shells on your table, not realizing that you had so many of them. But they're very good for you. Macadamia nuts are very good for you. I'm trying to think of the article that I spoke about.
We got a question on, you had mentioned the protein powders. Someone's asking, if I go find a protein powder, how do I differentiate a decent powder from one that's just blowing smoke up my rear? I like the way you talk.
Yeah.
Macros.
So it's easier to get one that we know is really good, and the one that I like is called Orgain, Orgain. And as I've mentioned before, you can get it at Whole Foods. They always have it. However, the canister at Whole Foods is a little bit smaller than the one that you can get at BJ's. I imagine Costco also has it, but someone's going to have to tell me that they do. It's organic. It's plant protein. There's no sugar in it, non-GMO, et cetera, and I think it's great. So just pop that into your smoothie. You can put it in with your chia seeds and almond milk and make like an oatmeal consistency food. You can pop it in your coffee in the morning. But Orgain is probably the best protein powder that I've seen. Tastes good. Good for you. Thank you, people at Orgain. Because there's a million powders out there, but some of them, on the label it says that, you might be exposed to this or that because the same thing's being made in the factory or blah, blah, blah. I don't want to hear that. I just want a nice, pure, protein powder. It tastes good.
Yeah, I had one. I loved the taste, and I said it on the show a few weeks ago. I look at the back of it. I'm like, I can't pronounce one of these poisons that are in this. So
yeah,
it is important. We have this question just saying that I read about people getting stem cell loaded implants under their skin to release insulin. Do you do anything regarding that?
No, because you wouldn't want to put stem cells under your skin. You want to put them into your veins so it goes to every blood flow in every organ. That's where you get your best result. I don't know what the uptake would be if you put stem cells under your skin and how it would get from tiny vessels to the rest of your body. So that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Yes, of course, for people who want to do facial rejuvenation, we could take the tiniest of needles and just inject stem cells throughout the face, forehead, the entire face to do some rejuvenation. But if you're talking about diabetes, you want to do the IV so it goes to your organs, and certainly blood vessels to help there. Stem cells even decrease the inflammatory cascade of atherosclerosis. I spoke about articles specific to that a few times. You want the IV so it goes all over the place. And with brain or eye-related issues, we just do a nasal droplet into the brain that goes in directly to the nasal cavity back to your brain.
Someone's just asking about Ozempic and Wegovy. Everyone's talking about those. Are they really there? Are they really helpful for diabetes or being overprescribed?
I have to tell you, we have patients coming in that are diabetic, and more of them now over the past few years are on these weekly shots. And of course, 5 to 10 years before, we saw people on Victoza and other injectables. Do you see big results with those for diabetics? Not really. But those people who are not diabetic, that need to lose weight, that do a short-term dose of the weekly injectables, whether it's semaglutide, which is Ozempic, or Mounjaro, which is tirzepatide, seem to decrease their appetite and seem to burn sugar and fat a great deal better. And those people seem to lose the weight better and faster. Now, I don't do those injections unless a person already starts low carb, the exercise every day. We're correcting vitamins, minerals, and hormones. The injections are an add-on. For people that I see that are diabetic, a lot of them are not told to do low carb by their doctor, are not told to exercise every day by their doctor, are not testing the 12-part thyroid panel, not testing IGF-1, and not correcting vitamins. So It may be the meds are being thrown on board to try to do something, but the result is not coming out because they're missing 2 or 3 of the other components. So that's why I talk about every part of the picture.
And I'm assuming this person got in a little late, but is it really possible to reverse type 2 diabetes, or is that just code for better management?
We've seen it and done it for many years. So it's doable, and I don't want to be too repetitive, low-carb diet, a lot of exercise every day, half hour to 45 minutes of nonstop exercise, correcting declining hormones, which these all contribute to the problem, by the way. Correct declining hormones, correct vitamins, and we talk about STEM. If you look at people that are type 2 diabetic, they don't really do the exercise, or they're still having way too much carb, or their thyroid's lower than it was 5 years ago and they don't know about it, or testosterone's dropped. They're not taking vitamins. So it's a combination of these things. So once you put everything to a nice, easy, concise plan, and you're covering all the bases, you get the best result by far. It's, I don't want to say like saying, it's saying that a person hasn't done the good things in their life, and this is the outcome. And now you put the exercise and the low carb and the vitamin and the hormone correction and all that on board, and your body responds beautifully.
Someone just asked, off the wall, since I am never going to be an athlete and in my 50s was talking with someone, would controlled low-dose steroids be something to look into under the prescription with my doctor? Keeping in mind, I do take 4 different meds for blood pressure.
So you're probably talking about using testosterone correction. You know, although testosterone is the typical steroid people talk about. If your levels are low and we correct them, you'll have better mood, sexual drive and function, better exercise results, burning fat, burning sugar, helping your blood pressure. We may help to lower your blood pressure by adding magnesium because we test it through the red blood cell, not just the serum. Low-carb diet might help to bring your weight down. And exercise, which would help to bring your blood pressure down. So, yeah, I do this all day long. It's just I need more information from you so we can show you how we can put this in place to create the result. Funny thing about blood pressure, for years, doctors, when they saw a person with high blood pressure, would put them on a diuretic. So they would just, in the morning, pee out lots of fluid, pressure comes down. But for the reason why they're hypertensive is low magnesium or potassium, and you put them on a certain diuretic, which would make you lose magnesium, potassium, you're making it worse. That pill doesn't work, then another pill, then another pill, then another pill. Why not get rid of that first pill, check the magnesium, potassium, correct that, do the exercise, diet, blah, 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 and fix it without the meds?
And I'll just let you know, Macross 2012, you have been asking a few questions, and this number right here, this is live. You can call this number. You could ask us anything you want. We only get the comment questions, but this does work. This phone number works. You call this, we're going to answer. You can
888-420-9272, and we could chat. And we love to talk to you.
Yeah, and he or she also added, it's mainly for helping me want to exercise with hopeful, faster recovery. I am in pain for extended amounts of time. It detracts from me wanting to work out.
So the pain after exercise could easily be that your body's not poised to repair itself because your hormones, testosterone, IGF-1 might be low. Vitamin deficiency will do that because you need lots of minerals to sustain good exercise. So one blood test, looking at all of that, would explain the entire picture to me. So I could say, this is what I've seen in thousands of people that in a similar way to what you're describing for yourself, but I'd rather have your body tell me what you're doing and then fix it. For all these things we're talking about today, this is what I do. I spend all day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. I used to work Mondays and Fridays as well, which I do not any longer, thank God. Thank God. And this is what I do. Talk to people all day, examine them, get the blood tests done, do telehealth visits, all of these things. set up the RPM devices for blood pressure, diabetes, the watch, which is really cool. So for people that take lots of pills, we have the pill box that electronically, all these things just track you and give us information on a daily basis. It's awesome. So for those of you who like this approach, and certainly this is something we'd love for you to experience. The office is 516-794-0404. It's Garden City. Website is drcalapai.com, drcalapai.com. Email us, call us, and we'll set you up. You will be shocked as to how much you'll learn. That's a guarantee.
And I got this question from YouTube. I've seen a lot of people recently wear these glucose monitors on their arm. Are they only for diabetes, or should everyone be tracking blood pressure?
Great question.
Blood
Now,
sugar.
of course, when they first came out, you know who said, damn, I got to do that and see how it works and just see what my body does in response to eating this or that or exercise. So I got one. And I think I only paid $70 in the pharmacy. You don't need the entire device, but you can just pop the reader on your arm, and the little pin goes into your skin and will read your sugar. You connect it to your phone. So I got up and I did a lot of exercise one morning before eating, and my sugar was nice and, tight range. Then I ate a normal diet, and I watched, because it reads for 2 weeks, and some read for a month straight. Watch what my sugar was doing after I ate. Then for dinner, I went a little hog wild. I had dessert, I had, pizza, whatever, and my sugars went up. So I could see where my sugar was going depending upon what I was eating. And for all of my patients that are diabetic, I have them write down what they're eating: breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. I don't want them to show me a good meal and a bad meal. A bad meal, your sugar might go to 200 or more. A good meal, your sugar starts in the 80s, goes up to 120, 130, and then back down and stays comfortably in the 80s to 90s. So I said, this is a way that you can track what you're eating to know what to eat and how good that is for you, because you're not spiking your sugar. And people are like, my God, that's a great idea. I said, yeah. So for a lot of people that exercise a lot that are non-diabetic, we can recommend that they get the device. The Freestyle Libre is one of them. There are a few of them out of the market. But I think the Freestyle Libre is 2 weeks. I'm not sure the other ones. I think there are a couple of them that are 2 months worth. And this is something we're going to institute with the RPM too, because I want to be able to see as many blood sugars and that beautiful graph as much as possible. But you connect it up with your phone, and you're just tracking your sugars. It's great.
Oh, we got this one. Can intermittent fasting help reverse type 2 diabetes? I've heard a bunch on that, but I think it's BS.
So intermittent fasting, you're just taking in less calories and less food. If you're still doing carbs, it's not going to change that much, but you're skipping a meal. If you're doing intermittent fasting and your thyroid, DHEA, testosterone, and all your good hormones, IGF-1, are low, you're not fixing that by intermittent fasting. If you're not doing any exercise, but you're doing intermittent fasting, you're not really going to change that much. So if you were to want to do intermittent fasting, and we did the workup on you and we got your vitamin pack together, so when you did eat, you have your morning or early afternoon vitamins, your evening vitamins, your vitamin levels are great, you're doing the exercise. Intermittent fasting is just sort of another way of saying, low carb, just skipping a meal in the morning. So it's an advantage, and some people enjoy doing it, so you can do it, sure. But you have to do the other things at the same time to expect a better result. Now, fortunately for men, and less fortunately for women, when men do low carb and exercise, they burn fat and sugar faster because you've got bigger muscle mass and more hormones and more testosterone and all that. So it just works faster. Women might have to do a little bit more aggressively, etc., to get a similar result, but we're looking to fine-tune it, either way.
We got someone on YouTube just saying, "Hey, doctor, I sent you a patient who has diabetes. He's very excited to get his stem cell treatment."
Oh, cool.
They also included the name, but I'm not going to do that for reasons.
You want to show me the name?
Yeah. I mean, I just don't know if it's okay to say the full name. Gary, though. It's Gary.
No, not the full name. So, yeah, no, cool. Can't wait to see Gary. Yeah, look, this is great. I mean, how often does a doctor get to be excited about making a big, big change in a patient? I get to see it all the time. So this gentleman will come in. I'll have the same conversation, fine-tune, handouts, this, that, eat this, don't eat that, do the exercise, et cetera, get them, they're amped up once they start to do this because they feel good. Once you get the carbs and the grains out, bloating goes away. People love that because everybody lately is bloated from bread, rice, pasta, oatmeal, et cetera. It's separate from gluten issues, but with the gluten issues too. And people get super motivated. So I feel bad for certain doctors that just never get that excitement out of watching the patient's result. Also, doctors that go into radiology. Not really an exciting field. You find tumors, you see broken bones, you see disc issues, you see all that, and God, we need that, absolutely. And we need great doctors reading those reports. But I don't see how, they don't have that much of an interaction at all with the patient unless they're doing something in a hospital or a procedure. I like seeing patients and watching their face when I explain things, whether they believe it or not. Sometimes they're funny faces, sometimes they're good faces and they laugh and such. But to see a patient that has had such a dramatic change where they've been trying for years and now we figured it out and got the result, they're ecstatic. It's great. I feel wonderful from it. If you look at the videos on the website, every one of those videos, those patients blew my mind. People that have MS and Parkinson's that have a wheelchair in 1 month, people non-diabetic in 2 to 2.5 or 3 or 4 months, macular degeneration improvement, COPD, this stuff, anyone would feel great from it, and I do, and I'm thankful for it. It's what I want to do.
Legend right here.
Coolness.
Someone's just saying, both of my parents have diabetes. Am I guaranteed to get it too, or can it be avoided?
So diabetes doesn't have to be an inherited thing where your parents have it, you have to have it. I think that, in a way of saying it, we eat what our parents tell us to eat when we were kids. And our grandparents told our parents what to eat and so on and so forth, going all the way back. And there's no population in the world that doesn't have a decent amount of carb in their diet because it's easy and cheap and it's always been a good amount of sustenance. But, is it that there's a genetic learning of what to eat based upon what our parents taught us and a psychological comfort factor in that food? Oh, of course. So it doesn't have to be that you will be diabetic if your parents were, because I can change that. I can't change how much you look like your mom or your dad or the color of your eyes or whatever the original color of people's hair is, But I can change your blood sugar, your cholesterol, a lot of these parameters. So if you look at all of these other things, the exercise, the low-carb diet, correcting vitamins, minerals, hormones, not even to mention STEM, those things are really important. But it may be that generations in the past didn't do that stuff, And maybe they ate lots of pasta because that's what they always did. I have Italian patients come in all the time. Oh, you want me to get rid of my pasta? Oh, doc, I can't do that. I'm Italian. If I heard that once, I heard that 17 million times. But it is what it is. But I say, do you want to stay diabetic and lose your nerve function and organs and everything else and, lose your vision and, But people are funny, and the conversation is always great. That's why I like interpersonal conversations with patients. You'll hear my patients laugh. We can laugh like idiots together over different things. But just because your relatives had something doesn't mean that you have to have that, because we can change so many parts of that picture.
So this one's a bit off topic, but someone's just asking, how does this doctor feel about the carnivore diet?
So I like a nice steak now and then. I like good organic meat, and I'll get it from Whole Foods. I like organic chicken and organic eggs and lamb. And I don't know that I could have only meat. And some people in the carnivore think you're supposed to have red meat 3 times a day, which I couldn't do. I like vegetables. I like squash. I like a lot of good, healthy, tasty foods. There are some people that might opt to want to do the carnivore diet. And if their diet is really poor before they start the diet and they're getting into a better zone and they're getting rid of all the carbs and the sugars and the junk food, et cetera, and they start that mechanism in the diet and we're tracking them, whether it's with the RPM or blood work or otherwise, and they're doing better with that. If they do intermittent fasting and some carnivore, it's a million things to do now. There's so many different, protocols to follow. If they're getting healthier by getting rid of the sugars and their blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, weight are coming down, blood pressure's coming down, I know I wouldn't have an issue with that because they're getting better. I don't think it's a long-term diet. And I think you could easily do it for a couple of weeks and then have some good vegetables and switch over to fish and keep changing things around. If it works for you and you're getting out of the danger zone, then why not? As long as we're tracking it, I don't have a problem with it. I just want good results.
Okay, next is, we got some funny comments. Someone said, Italy is going gluten-free. Uh-oh. And
there you go. Italy's got no GMO. And I could tell you I have thousands of patients that go travel all over the world. And we talk about the travels and how well people eat in other countries. And you eat beautifully in other countries. So, but here, people can't go to a local pizza place without having stomach aches and indigestion and bloating and hot burps from the GMO bread or pizza or pasta.
Someone saying PFFT. PFFT? What does that stand for? Do we know?
PFFT?
PFFT. Let me know if you're hearing this. But they're saying, my battle is just trying to give up soda. Doctor says at least try to drop the caffeine. Drive Sprite or caffeine-free root beer. I will say personally, I don't know if you've heard about this, Macross 2012, but there's a thing called Poppy, and it's a soda company. They actually were just purchased by Pepsi. It's very popular now.
Yeah.
I found them early on, and they're a
There's
soda.
Olipop. There are a few of them that have probiotics in them,
Exactly.
So there's probably some benefit to that. I'd rather people have a sugar-free, probiotic-added drink than not. I've tried it. Tastes a little funny, a little fizzy, but it's good. It's healthier than the totally sugar-laden chemical other sodas.
Yeah, and they have a flavor for every type of soda that you if you're a Coca-Cola guy, if you're a root beer, if you're Dr. Pepper, they got something for you. So interesting. I think you can only drink 2 or 3 at a certain amount of time because it is a probiotic. But yeah, look into that.
It's not a bad idea. It's probably a healthier option. Some people like carbonated stuff, and they could drink Pellegrino and put some lemon in it, or orange. I mean, that's better if you want to get away from the sodas. Do something that may have a little carbonation that's healthier for you.
All right. You guys are quietening down. What else we got? Who'd I miss? Make sure I got my YouTube crowd here. All good.
A lot of good questions today. A couple of great videos. La.
Yeah, we're gonna continue to sprinkle in some patient testimonials in between.
Yeah, it's good for people to see that because I can describe tons of things and people gravitate to that. They like it. They take notes. They send us emails and want to have information, more knowledge, which is what I want. I want people to have as much knowledge and be thirsty for knowledge. It's like crazy. But it's good to see people that have done what we've suggested and have had great results.
And now I feel like I'm aging myself because they've gotten into the PFFT. It's just pfft, like pfft.
Oh, you mean
They're angry. Pfft. I don't want to get rid of the sodas. Pfft.
Yeah, pfft is like a dismissive comment.
I understand.
Yeah, there are a lot of abbreviations, even in medicine too. And people say, "I have blah, blah, blah." I'm like, well, that could be 5 different things. Tell me what blah means.
All All right, you guys are quieting down. This is your chance.
Yeah, they're taking a moment.
If you want some questions.
Can always take a moment. We don't have to have
Boom, boom.
100% of the time.
It's been good. It's been a good Saturday.
Very good Saturday. A lot of great things going on. So it's exciting. I was talking about this RPM thing to a couple of their doctors and lots of patients, because we talk about it with every patient now because they hear about it, they want to know. And I said, it's funny to me because traditionally insurances don't do anything preventive. They don't. And then people end up with big problems, and then this big emergency room bill hits, and the insurance companies probably freak out, and patients don't like going to the ER and have the big workup unless they're really in a bad place, but the key is not to let them get into a bad place. So I was thinking about it a little bit more, and my doctor friends and I, even a buddy of my friend Ray and Danny, we have all these great conversations about everything, intellectual conversations. And then we were talking about the fact that, hey, if you can keep a patient's blood pressure stable, and you're monitoring it, and you're watching it, and you're calling every week or so and making sure they're taking their meds, and the device is making sure that they've taken the meds in the morning and the evening, or whatever they have to do, or their vitamins, and you're keeping their sugar down, their cholesterol's down, their weight's down, you're keeping them in a great zone, you're preventing that big $80,000, $100,000 ER visit when that patient is going bad and nothing's being done. So I said, aha, that's going to be a big motivation for insurance companies, because they don't want to pay the big ticket. They'd rather have the patient observed and kept healthy. Now, I want to try to do this in some way for non-Medicare patients as well, but the ones who need the majority of the care are those who are Medicare patients. But as I've said a million times over, the beauty of this is we're tracking you. If you can't get to your doctor for 2 or 3 or 4 months, and you have to wait a period of time before things are fixed or fine-tuned, if they want to do that, there's no more wait. If we set this up and we're tracking you and you have an abnormal sugar or reading or oxygen, we get notified, we call you, we work it out right away. So there's a better connection between the patient and us because we're on it. Hired more staff, a couple of nurse pracs, PAs, to be able to integrate this. We're also going to take this and make it so that other doctors that want to do the same thing can do that, and we can give them, guidance. But it's a really exciting idea that's come out in part through the disaster that happened during COVID. People couldn't get to the doctor. A lot of bad things happened. Now, if we just track you easily with your vitals from a watch or your blood pressure machine, it's genius.
Genius. We got one more from YouTube asking about kidney rejuvenation.
So I had a patient today, lovely patient, really hard-working lady. And she's an interior designer, decorator. And she had a decline in kidney function. And we did the stem a few months ago. We were waiting a couple of months to recheck her blood, to check her kidney function. And the kidney function was not where we wanted it to be. It was low. I don't remember if the level was 40 or 45 or 50. On today's discussion, 75 was her GFR. So in a very short period of time, her kidney function came up a lot. There's no drug that'll do that. There's no vitamin that'll do that. So we were completely thrilled. I even yelled into the phone, of course. She was probably surprised that I yelled, but I yelled with, a happy sound that her levels are normal. She's up to 75. So, yes, stem cell therapy can do that.
We got a big one. All right. You got here just in time. I need help. That's what they're saying. I need help. I am obese. I have had 3 joint replacement surgeries in just under 1 year.
Wow.
So exercise has been difficult for me and I tire out. I think my whole core needs strengthening. Any ideas?
Well, yeah. So the mechanism of continually getting your body to burn fat as a primary fuel with low carb diet, whatever exercise you can do. You could even sit on an exercise bike and not have to do a ton or do elliptical where you're just gliding your feet back and forth. Correcting hormone decline, correcting vitamins can make a very big difference. And if you're diabetic, of course, and some people that are not diabetic, they want to do STEM because STEM will rejuvenate, your organ function and create better ability, better function. Again, I don't know anything more than what you've just mentioned about you, but there'll be a lot of things that I would look at once we test you. But that's by far the best way to go.
And below we have the website and the phone number as well if you want to reach out personally and get more into depth on maybe something if you don't want to put it all into the comment section. But yeah, please reach out.
Yeah, the more information you can get us, the better. So that's why whether we do a telehealth visit, besides filling out our registration forms, send us copies of prior blood work. Or if you come into the office, bring copies of prior blood work. We'll scan it into the computer and, put it all together. It's not as though this is something that you could kind of do on your own and take a pill and figure it out. It doesn't work that way. We need to change a variety of things that your body tells us with your blood test. I wonder how much the person weighs.
Yeah, I hope, and I also hope they didn't leave after they asked the question because I can't. Rumble doesn't tell me exactly what time the comment came in. I know it was in the last 5 minutes, but yeah, please, we want to help you. We need, Oh, they said thank you. So, yeah, you have the website.
Yeah, drcalapai.com, drcalapai.com, and the office is 516-794-0404.
And you're welcome. The best is yet to come, which is what your username is, but it's also true.
It's a good song. The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine? Who doesn't love Sinatra?
I just love any excuse where you're going to let those pipes out.
Oh, yeah. I got to buy a karaoke machine. I had one years ago, but I think it's just passé. It's not good anymore, but that has a pitch change on it because my voice is lower than a lot of the songs are played. I'm not even sure what key I sing in, but I have to take some voice lessons. I should do that. And, then just do karaoke and invite people over,
Someone wants to know...
People that are hard of hearing, so they won't be embarrassed.
Someone just wants to know where you practice out of. Just generally don't need exact location if that makes you uncomfortable.
No, Garden City, 1101 Stewart Avenue, Garden City, New York, 11530, Suite 201.
And if you're not close, you're in a different state, you're not in New York, Long Island, telehealth.
Yep.
We'll get to you.
We can do the telly, a little bit of telly.
All right, wait, a couple more questions. They're coming in late. My GFR is 33. I have stage 3 CKD. Is there any way to get help paying for that for the treatment? I have Medicaid and Fidelis, and you have a good voice.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I don't know. Some people will take it as a deduction from their taxes at the end of the year. There are companies that Care Credit's one of them that will set you up and you could pay Care Credit back. But the problem with some of these companies is they're charging an exorbitant interest rate. And for some people that have called about that, even existing patients, we've said you shouldn't be paying that crazy interest rate. If you wanted to just pay us month to month, you can. And as you get close to the total amount and we do the best we can for you, then you can do it without paying. Some of them are like 19 or more % interest. It's insane. So, we try to do the best we can for you.
That is insane. Failed society is what we call that.
Well,
some of these.
It's a shame, but this is what happens when business starts to get into the realm of medicine. Everybody knows the doctor they used to have that they loved, that they could call and see and blah, blah, blah. You can't see them anymore because they were bought out by a big whale. And now they're just making the appointments impossible to get to.
Try 20 to 24. That's what you're dealing with. 20 to 24 interest. Oh
Yeah, so that's insane. You know, I wish I know people in finance. I wish there was a way, and maybe there's a way I could speak to somebody at a bank, or maybe some of the smaller banks would do something. I'm going to find out. Could always call my friend Mikey. Mikey knows a lot of people. It's good to have friends to bounce things off of because, you know, you want to try to figure out ways to help people out.
Quieting down a bit over here. From the Express Care. Try 20 to 24 from the Express Care. Oh, gotcha. Ay. Crazy.
Yeah, that should be illegal.
Yeah, it should. Bankers, you know.
Alrighty, we can take a few more minutes for a few more calls.
You guys have been great today, by the way. We love LFA. We love Rumble.
Yep.
That was
LFA and Rumble are big friends.
That was
we've had between 75 and 100 and some odd thousand views.
Yeah.
Tell your friends, your family, everybody. Yeah, we love Rumble, so we're love to do more on Rumble, so we're interested in that.
And follow the show. If you're watching from Rumble right now, we're on YouTube. We have you're watching right now on LFA, but we also have the Optimal Health Program Rumble. You can watch us there. We're there Monday and Fridays as well, not just Saturdays. So there's where you could watch those episodes. Don't miss out. 12:30 Monday and Fridays.
I'm surprised my voice is still here after talking all morning. You know, I try to get in early on Saturday after I feed the dogs and take them for a little run around. And just so much stuff to say with every patient. I talk, and then I have to kind of keep looking at my watch because I need to make sure that I'm, staying within a decent amount of time to be able to leave the office in theory at 1:30 to get here and have a nice, comfortable 20 minutes to chat with you, Frankie, and sort of
Doesn't
relax.
always happen.
And it hasn't, I think, happened more than once. But it's hard because, people have so many questions. And this is not a cut and dry thing where, we're going to do a nose job. And this is what it's going to look like roughly. And, there's so many things to talk about with people that have multiple issues. So, we've got to spend the time with the chat and with the phone calls as well. So it's just a different nature. So as soon as I know I'm done, I bolt out the door and I race here, which soon might be a lot easier to get here. Working on something very nice to be a little bit closer. Then I could just very casually saunter 10 minutes to the potentially new building. So that's another good thing to look forward to.
Always something in the works. Over here. Someone said, I used them for a dog because I was desperate to get him a test, only to find out he was going to die. What are we referring to? Won't ever do that again. It's taking advantage of someone that sees no other way.
Use them for a dog?
Use them for... Is that what we're talking about? What was the last... Please, clarify.
Oh, maybe the high percentage interest rate thing for something.
Yes.
So they used a high interest rate company to do something for a dog that was going to pass.
Yeah.
I hate the whole thing about dogs passing. It's the worst. I had an amazing German Shepherd, Maximus, who's very big. He was probably 135 pounds. The sweetest, most amazing dog. If you saw him, you'd think, wow, that's a little scary, but he was the sweetest dog. He lived to just about 14. And, he was getting old and tired, had difficulty getting up and down stairs. I had to help him. And I just don't have the heart to bring him to a vet and have them do an injection. He wasn't in any pain. And he was wagging his tail. He was happy up until the day he died. But I couldn't see doing that process. And, at one point, he ended up passing, comfortably in the kitchen in his sleep. And that was basically that. But I know people that go through a lot of that. And it's hard.
They're like people, but they're better dogs.
Yeah, it's true.
That's the issue.
They don't annoy you. They don't aggravate you. They don't give you a hard time. They just want to be around you and hang out and have fun with you, you know? So, and cat people say the same thing, and I know people that own pigs. Pigs are probably a lot of fun. I like those little miniature goats. I wouldn't mind getting a little mini goat to just jump around. Or those mini cattle now that you see them online. And Schwarzenegger's got a donkey and a mini cow and whatever other things he's got. That'd be pretty cool.
I've heard the mini goats, they jump on your cars. Like you'll walk out of the front door and they'll be like on top of your car.
Oh, they love jumping on it. You got to keep them in a pen or something and give them stuff to jump all over, like little trees or tires or, some sort of stuff. But they're adorable.
They're adorable.
Of course, they probably make a lot of noise. But, that's cool. It'd be nice to have a farm someday. It would have all sorts of animals in the farm, gigantic garden with vegetables and all that.
And the goats, they get rid of your weeds. They'll eat them.
Yeah. I like watching those shows where people live off the grid and they have all the animals. Even one show, The Rainies, it's Homestead Rescue, where they go out to someone's property that really doesn't know what they're doing and they're really shouldn't be living off the grid, but they build them a pen for the goats. They build them things for the ducks and the chickens, and they come in with an excavator and dig out a well. Now they've got this massive lake that has water, and they can do all these things to make these people live a happier, better life. It's really cool. I like that sort of thing. One of the shows was where there was just no water anywhere near where these people had this house. So Rainy's son climbed up the mountain and found some water and then just cut these trees and made V-shaped notches in these, really narrow trees. And he made a little water device to bring the water down the mountain. And then as the water came down, it was spinning a wheel fast enough that generated electricity. So they had electricity from that. Then another time they had a river that wasn't far away, and they put a big water wheel. They took like jet or airplane pontoons from an old plane and put a water wheel on there, and it just spun with the paddles and made electricity. And now these people had a cool existence. It was pretty awesome to watch. So there's still some good stuff on TV. Well, thank you for listening today. God bless you all. Have an amazing day. If I forgot to mention things, I guess that happens now and then. We're going to be setting up a lecture at some point in the Marriott Hotel in the near future. If you'd like to come to the lecture, give the office a call and say you'd like to sign up for the lecture. Need to know how many people we can bring there for the size of the room. It's going to cover all sorts of topics. The office number is 516-794-0404, Garden City. And the website is drcalapai.com. God bless you all. Have an amazing weekend.